With this move, let me just say this. This is where you can turn a sick culture into a healthy culture. A culture where that's full of blame and a high bitch factor of people complaining or whatever, where suddenly people start to awaken to the fact that they are accountable for their lives. They are accountable for their experience of life. And suddenly people start to mature. And you find yourself, by teaching this, working with rooms full of mature people rather than children that are going to blame that service failure, whatever, because the dog ate my homework, or I couldn't do this great visit because this person did. No, we're going to own our lives. So accountability is owning one's life without blaming others or circumstances. That's a big pill in this culture. But I'll tell you this, when a person realizes this and realizes that all serious growth or transformation or all spiritual paths go through the path of accountability, that's transformational. And it's probably the most important thing of this entire broadcast, if you really want to get serious. When we can take that mirror and say, here am I, here's where I'm at, and I'm doing the best job I know. So we want to get ourselves, or yourselves, and your people beyond this idea of victimhood, blame, and excuse. Because victimhood and blame are not very empowering. As long as you can blame others, you're not going to get much advancement. But the question is, what can I do about my situation? Okay, and in teaching that, how do you do that? Well, I would create a standardized definition of accountability. You can rip this one off, the one that I use. Accountability is owning one's life without blaming others and circumstances. So get a standardized one for the organization. Next, you start to hire for it. I do this with a video. After they teach something, because that's the primary skill set we're looking for at a hospice, is the ability to teach others to do the care in our absence. Then we say, hey, we'd like to make one more video. Tell us about accountability. And you start to find out whether you're dealing with a child or a mature person. What would we do if we said, hey, your documentation is not to standard or whatever? And what you find is these people tend to want to grow spiritually, exactly what we want. So you start to hire people that already are mature. And then you cultivate accountability with the 3 questions. What are the 3 questions you start out every IDT with? What are you? A feeling. Question 2, what do you see yourself as? A teacher, guiding people through an experience we are most familiar with, because hospice was never designed where we do the care. We have to empower people to do the care in our absence, so teaching. And the 3rd question is, what day is it? And all the clinicians at the IDT say, it's the best day of my life. And then you do a call out and say, what does that mean? That means I'm accountable. I'm accountable at minimum for my attitude towards life. I can hold a hostile view or have a much more warm feeling towards the world and all things in it. And at that point, that change of attitude, which all these things will run into, again, accountability. Accountability is a little bit of a put-off word, but it can be liberation, awakening, when you start to, again, just taking responsibility for where you're at, and again, your feeling towards the world, all of that. And at minimum, your accountability. Just like in Viktor Frankl's great book, after he got out of the concentration camp, Man's Search for Meaning, that the last of the human freedoms is the ability of one to choose one's attitude in any given situation.